Hey there, Tony from Vocal Power here, and a question I get asked a lot is, can you recommend some good books? Now, I've got a couple hundred here, which I've read over the years. I won't subject you to that, but I'm just going to run you through a few of my current favorites. Let's start with number one. I couldn't believe the first time I read this book how much it resonated with me. It just coincided with everything I'd learned and everything I was learning to teach at the time. The Voice of the Mind by Edgar Herbert Cesare. Based on the old Italian school of singing, this book has the highest recommendations from some of the most respected people in the business. It's based in the old Italian school, and really the thing I love about it is it really explains the pathway of the breath, the resonance, and the individual paths of the vowels, because they do change as we go up in pitch, and they do sort of amalgamate at the top, and he explains that really, really well. Now, this book used to be really difficult to find. You'd have to search it out on Amazon or Abe Books or a secondhand store, and it used to go for $300 or £400 at the time. Luckily, I think it's a niece of his or somebody, Alma Cesare Gramatka. She has a website called booksonsinging.com, and you can get a few of his books on there. Booksonsinging.com. You can get this in a reprinted hardcover for $34.95. I suggest you buy it. It's my number one favorite book on singing. My go-to recommendation for anyone who wants to pick something up to immediately improve their voice and pick up a few decent exercises, etc., is, get out of the light there, Singing and the Actor by Julianne Kayes. Now, this book is often overlooked or misunderstood. In fact, I didn't buy it the first time I saw it because the title's misleading for me, and the front image, it gave me the impression that this was a book for stage actors or people who are, aspiring towards musical theater. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's very much a technical work on singing, based quite a bit on the still method and some of Julianne's own findings. This really resonates with me. I've worked with Julianne, I've studied with her and learned a lot from her, and she's the person I go to if I want my voice looking at or I'm working on something. So I can't recommend this highly enough. You can get this on Amazon or anywhere else. Singing the Actor. Great descriptions of the sensations of singing, the anatomy, what you should be feeling, and some brilliant exercises as well. So yeah, a must have. So the rest of the books aren't really in any particular order, but those are my two main go-tos. This one may be unknown to you. This is called Vocal Technique by Julia Davids and Stephen Latour. It says here, a guide for conductors, teachers, and singers. So no matter where the voice fits in your musical world, this book could be of use to you. It has some really useful exercises at the back that are nicely laid out for you to play on piano or get someone to play them for you. But it starts out with a good grounding in some of the foundations. So breathing, breath control, resonance, the release of sound, vowels. So a really good comprehensive introduction, and it's not written too technically. You'll see here that the diagrams are very easily understood. It just sticks to the main components. These are not sort of medical drawings. So you can quickly see that, okay, those are the bits I need to concern myself with, and I don't really need to learn all of the Italian muscle names. So once again, here's a transverse cut here from the middle of the throat, and you can see the vocal folds here and the false vocal folds just hanging just above. So that's a really useful kind of diagram if I want to present to a student, explain what's located where without it getting too confusing. Just a good kind of good solid book on singing, really. This is a mini masterpiece, really, I would say, by Christina Schul. I'm not sure if it might have been her master's work for her PhD or something, but Voice Work, Art and Science in Changing Voices. This is a brilliant book. She covers throughout here a lot of what most singing books should, the foundations, breath control, etc., etc. But she goes through body work and specifically some of the journeys she's had to make with some of her students. So students presenting themselves with different issues and how she's addressed those. And it really goes into detail, almost as if you'd taken some of the lessons yourself. A lot on posture and maintaining the body as that being the core for the support of the voice. Over 500 pages, well worth having. Now, pretty much anything that Richard Miller has written on the voice is worth reading. This, for me, is his core one. There are a few others. The Structure of Singing, System and Art in Vocal Technique. This used to be quite expensive and difficult to find, but I think it's been reissued. Have a look for it. This one is a little bit technical. It's not a must-have. It's more towards those who are looking for that deeper knowledge, or if you're looking to perhaps teach or expand your teaching. As you'll notice here, if we look at the level of the diagrams, we're getting a little bit more technical here with a lot of sort of detail as to what's going on. Very useful to know, but it's not for everyone. So we have a lot. Some of the diagrams are a lot more medical based. So you can see here the muscles of the rib cage, what their roles are, how they act and react, etc. And once again, a good range of exercises for vocal development. He has several other books as well. Here's a real good one, The Science of the Singing Voice by Johan Sundberg. This is very technical. A lot of scientific work on the formants of the voice, the overtones, frequencies, breath flow. A lot of this is all charted and documented. I'd say a lot of this book was made in Excel. I still like it because I like to know what's going on. It doesn't mean that you consciously apply it in any way, but, you know, it helps. So here we are. We're looking at here some levels difference of the compensated mean absolute phonation frequency according to different vowel sounds. So you can tell the kind of depth that goes into. But really would be found on the shelves of most good singing teachers. Here's one of my favorites. This is an all-time classic, and this is by William Vennard. Many of you may have come across this or may even have it. Singing, the Mechanism and the Technique. William Vennard's there. Carl Fisher, the publisher, is he gets a bigger pride of place here. This one might be a little bit tricky to find. I've got an older copy here. And this one's written in a bit more of a thesis presentation almost, because as you can see here, in the margins, you will see that there are numbers to each paragraph so that you can reference. And when you look in the index, if you're looking for something specific, it tells you exactly what paragraph to find it in. And once again, the diagrammatics in here, pretty technical, but very, very useful. Sizes of waveforms there, depending on phonation levels and resonant placement, etc. Let's see what else we can show you just quickly. I'm trying to not make this video too long, but just to give you an idea. Here are the changing sizes of the ventricles within the larynx as we adjust the airflow. So you get the idea of the level of technicality that's going on here. But there are places where it's simplified. So this is explaining here the relationship between the tilt of the thyroid or the retraction of the cricoid cartilage. Pretty easy to understand. It covers pretty much everything. Not so much in the exercise department, more about the analysis. So not so developmental. This next book, I need to thank my singing teacher colleague Anne Hetheridge for this. She recommended this when we were on a workshop somewhere. What Every Singer Needs to Know About the Body. Now, this goes into great depth about the linkage between the voice and the body as a whole and how much they're interdependent on each other. So we've all had this as singers, you know, those days where you just feel, you've been touring, you're traveling, you're tired, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten properly. Of course, this is all going to affect you. You know, the guitar player gets to put his guitar away, pick it up at the next gig, and unless his fingers are sore, which is unusual, it's going to be pretty much the same show. This shows you how much everything is connected. I mean, it goes greatly greatly in depth with muscle content, body chemistry, etc. Really, really useful to know as a performer and as a teacher. So a little known of book, but worth getting. You get it through Plural Publishing. I don't think it's the cheapest book in the world. It's probably about 50 quid or something, but perhaps worth having. And last but not least, this fine book is written by Dr. Robert Satelloff. He is one of the most world-renowned otolaryngologists. He has written over 30 books now. This one's really good. Vocal Health and Pedagogy, Science and Assessment. Really about how he goes about diagnosing vocal problems, dealing with clients who have issues. Once again, all the main bases are covered here. Vocal tract resonance, laryngeal function during phonation, an overview of voice production. This one is resplendent with a lot of technical data, a lot of fancy graphs and stuff here to really dive into. Once again, some more stuff on formants, the full source spectrum, vocal intensity, involvement of the chords in the cycle, explanation of the air traveling through the glottis. So some really good detailed work in this. As I say, he has several other books, but this one I find pretty comprehensive for what I need. Now, I don't physically have it here, but I can't leave without recommending the excellent Raise Your Voice by Jamie Vendera. Jamie, some of you will know, is a great vocal coach, so a really good all-round rock singer's handbook. Got some great explanations about technique and a supporting exercise to go with it. It's called Raise Your Voice. If you haven't got it, head over to Jamie's website. I think it's Vendera Vocal Academy or jamievendera.com. Or you can get it on Amazon or somewhere like that. So those are amongst my favorites. I have several more, and I chop and change as I need to reference them. If you've got any particular books you'd like to shout about, leave a comment below. If you've got any questions regarding any books, also leave a comment. I'll do my best to reply as soon as I can. Share this with all your singing friends, and happy reading. Thanks.